Well, hi, everybody. It's Kim Winter here from Logistics Executive Group again, and welcome to our today's session on interviews with supply chain and business leaders around the world. I'm absolutely honoured today to have two of Europe's senior logistics and supply chain consultants all the way from Cologne. We have Thomas Kistner and Bernhard Bruckdorfer. Hey, guys, how are you going?
Hi, very good. Thanks for having us.
Good job. Hey, Bernhard, you're doing well? You're both together in the same office today?
Yeah, same office to see the picture, great weather outside. So just perfect.
So what appears to be a nice day, you're in the middle of a snowstorm and a bit of a lockdown. What's happening there?
Yes, we really had a snowstorm of 2 weeks ago. And especially to the truck driver, that was really something really difficult. But today the sun is shining, so we survived so far.
Awesome. Hey, so as I mentioned at the top, you're two of Europe's most senior supply chain logistics consultants. Your company Bricklog is based in Cologne, but you cover all of Germany and right throughout Europe. You have influence and customers, and further afield, of course. And it's our pleasure to link up with you in various parts of the world on various projects. But you've both got a very senior experience between the two of you corporately, and all the big names, most of the big names in Europe, in fact, and logistics and supply chain over the last how many years, including the Schenkers of the world, Kuehne+Nagel, DHL, Dasher, LEP, Agility, Union Air Transport, and others. So it's quite a deep and rich experience that you've had, and senior roles in all those organisations. So really looking forward today to have a bit of a chat and share with our audience what's going on in Europe, some of the most salient issues that are affecting Europe, what's happening in the supply chain, and various other things, including what's happening with consumers in Europe. Are there major differences between what's happening in the EU, a little bit about Brexit maybe, or maybe not. We'll see what you want to talk about. But first of all, with all of our guests, I really want to hear from both of you, maybe first of all yourself, Bernhard, about where you came from. What was your upbringing? And then yourself as well, Thomas. Where was the background? Where was the family upbringing? What were your influences when you were young?
Okay, just briefly, made an apprenticeship in freight forwarding. After that, 4 years Navy services during the Cold War. Very interesting. I've been a radio operator. It was a very interesting time. After that, I got back into freight forwarding. Specialized in project forwarding. I've been working in Libya for 3 years, working on big projects for companies called like Mannesmann and Babcock. We did the big pipeline project, Misurata Steel. That was a very big steel factory being built. After that, coming back to Germany. I've been always a traveler, working in sales. Went to the United States, been in the air and ocean freight sales role as a regional. Came back to Germany, working for Union Air Transport, being in charge for all Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, the complete APEC region, working with agents, doing all these things. And after a while, I said, okay, you've been working for the biggies a long time. So I started my own business and went directly into recruiting, doing a headhunting company. So since then, and it's almost 25 years ago, I'm a headhunter with my heart, but I'm still in logistics and freight forwarding. What I like is talking to various people, doing different jobs and getting their careers to move. That's what I'm doing right now. And I think Thomas had some different experiences.
Great. Yeah, Thomas, what about your early days, Thomas, when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I played soccer the whole day. So being in the in the forefront and trying to make some goals, which is more or less the same what I do today. And I came to the forwarding industry by an accidentally, more or less, because I haven't had any idea what is going on in logistics and how the refrigerator was filled. So I made my apprenticeship with DB Schenker. It was one of the greatest times of my life, because I have learned everything. When I'm talking about trucks, I'm talking about warehouses, I'm talking about railroad, and can imagine overland, air freight, ocean freight, the fair events even. That was really, really something which, that was the most interesting time. And over that, I make my studies in economics and marketing. And then I was in the logistics industry for so many years. I went over to other companies and other responsibilities. And what we say is, whether it's flying or swimming or driving or whatsoever, I was in charge for so many things. And it's, when you're working with, after Schenkers, with Kühn + Nagel, with DHL, former Danzas, in various roles. I've been in Canada, I've been in the US, because the nice thing in the forwarding industry, it's global. You can live and work everywhere, almost everywhere. So I went to projects all over the world, whether it was contract logistics or air and ocean freight. And then when I had my last position within DAXA as part of the global board in the air freight and sea freight logistics, I've been responsible for so many entrepreneurial things, because DAXA is a very entrepreneurial company. So that was, again, another milestone in my career. And then I met people from Kühn + Nagel, and that is what that was. I don't know whether it was by mistake or it was just happening. So we asked ourselves, what can we do better? Because we would like to make, or we add some value to the logistics industry. And we founded the company together with my colleagues from Kühn + Nagel in the Netherlands. We do have, with my friends, a Bricklog BV in the Netherlands as well, in beautiful Apeldoorn. So we started with some family-run companies and asked them, today you would say probably it was a design thinking process. How do you like our idea? And the idea was proved, and then we started our business. Awesome. And then another accident, probably, because it was never planned that we will step into the people's business, which means executive search and headhunting. But maybe I'm a natural born headhunter, I don't know. But you need to be good in sales. You need to be good with people, and that is something what I like it very much. So, and then I met Bernhard. I was a customer of him during my time when I was in Kühn + Nagel. So that is something which is just happening, and is what never planned. But I think it's a very nice story that if you know people, I mean, relationship and the people's business in the forwarding industry is everything. So that was the basis, the basics for our new partnership here in Germany. And now Bernhard, he is the silverback in executive search, and I'm very happy to have him on my side, because I always love to learn, and I learn a lot from him.
Very good. So what I'm interested in before I go any further is this thing about Germany and logistics companies. I mean, yes. Some of the biggest logistics companies globally are yes. German, and of course Northern Europe in particular, but particularly Germany. What is it about Germany and its huge logistics companies, and why have they done so well?
I mean, we know, or what we see is that we are the world champions in logistics. That comes to the figures, of course. I mean, we have so much. We are very export oriented economy, and that's really a good question, Kim. Why do we have all these giants? I mean, we have DHL coming out of the Deutsche Post. We have Kühn + Nagel, which is a Yes, it's a German-based company, but they are now in Switzerland. But it's a true all German company. We have DB Schenker. I mean, these are world-leading companies. It must have. There is a relationship between the economy and that we have been export things so well for decades. So I don't know. And the logisticians, they are good in organization planning. I don't know whether this is still the case, because we do have some challenges in Germany right now, but maybe this is another story when we talk about the vaccine distribution.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll talk about vaccine a little bit later on in terms of what's going on in the market. But I guess just listening to you, what I was watching something on LinkedIn the other day, that one of these moving graphs that said, which companies in the world export the most, and it may have only been 2 or 3 days ago. And I think Germany's, I don't know, no lower down the channel than 4 or 5 globally in terms of, after China and the US and a couple of other countries. Germany could even be 3rd or 4th. I guess, rhetorically, one of the issues has been, if you're exporting that many, particularly motor cars in your case, Germany, some of the best cars in the world come out of Germany, of course. I suppose there's always had to be very good freight companies to manage those exports and all of the above. So I don't know. Well, maybe you can do some research, and when we talk again, maybe later in the year, you can tell me what the research tells you as to why so many German companies are so successful. I want to switch over to the modeling of your business just very quickly. I mean, you're one of the only companies in the world that I've come across that have the model that you do, being consultants to tier 1 companies around the world, particularly in Europe, from a supply chain consulting and logistics consulting perspective, but also the headhunting side of things. How's that model? Has it always been like that for Bricklog? And how does that model work?
Not at all, Kim. That was really something. It happened not overnight, but it happened. We start with let's say, the process consulting for companies, whether it's a family-run business or even a bigger company when it comes to the processes in air freight, ocean freight, or trucking, of course, and a few contract logistics challenges. And there was a guy, he owns a company, a forwarding company. It was his company, by the way. And what was his story? He told me, Thomas, I would like to go and do a sailing tour globally. He was 72 something, and he would like to get rid of the daily business. So he was looking for a successor, for a managing director of his company. And he asked me whether I would be able to help him to fill the position for that company, just to release him out of his daily duties to go sailing with his boat around the world. But okay. So when do you need this guy? It was January. He said, okay, at least by 1st of August, because my boat is leaving by the 1st of September. Okay. Then I said, challenge accepted. So, and then it started. So it was, again, more or less occasionally, and we have been able to fill that position, and the guy is still there, and the guy is still happy. So that was the kickstart to help our customers as well when it comes to these critical positions on sea level.
Yeah,
and that was something I think maybe, as I said before, that was something that has to do with my personal belief, because I like to work with people. I like to develop things with people, and this was kind of a development challenge for that company as well. So that is something we said, okay, that might be of interest for other customers as well. And this is then over the years one of the biggest pillars in our company. We have these 3 pillars: people, processes, and digitization. So and now we have this the idea of a small ecosystem, where you cannot do digitization without people, you cannot do processes without the people. So we said, okay, this is the cycle. That is what our customers need. They need the right people, they need the right processes, and why not doing it all together? And that's the perfect combination together with Bernhard and our colleagues in the Netherlands. They are very well process-driven. We are very well people-driven. So that is our offering, and that is really something I do not see that very often in the market.
Right. Yeah, good. Well, thanks for the history on that. Hey, Bernhard, I want to tack you on a subject. I really want to understand a little bit more and help our audience to understand what real effect is being felt about the Brexit situation. I mean, it's a big political issue. I frankly, have heard so much about it over the last 3 years, so almost tiresome of it. But being in Germany, the strongest economy in Europe, what real effect is it having? Any real effect that the Brits are doing their own thing, or is it a major issue in Germany, or are you not noticing it?
We're not noticing that much, but to make a long story short, I like it. The people don't feel it here, but they will in future. Yeah. Because if you go on the street, the people are not talking about Brexit.
What are they talking about?
They're talking about day-to-day business, day-to-day life in the pandemic. It's a day-to-day thing. The people are not thinking long-term these days. So the thing with Brexit is I just feel poor for the people on the street. I mean, the truck drivers, the operators. They have been rolled over with rules which they didn't understand in the first instance. Companies are workloaded with application forms. What do I have to do here? And the driver is sitting in his truck and really don't know what's going on. So now the congestion is gone. It's still going, but the pandemic is doing the other thing on top of it. I feel sorry for the people in the UK and in Ireland. In Ireland, especially there, they are talking about other things now. What's happening with the Brexit? You see what's happening in Scotland. They are Europeans, and they bailed out of it. I mean. Yeah. And you see, and I put it back into my business, which is headhunting. A lot of English headhunters are floating here in Germany over the market and trying to implement their services. Yeah. People getting phone calls every day from headhunters from the UK, especially here these days.
Okay. And that's to try and bring talent from Europe into the UK, or are they just trying to do business inside of Europe from the UK?
They're doing business in the UK. Let's say if a German company is looking for a manager, not from the UK, but they rolling into the German market.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's if I'm looking for a manager in the UK, I speak with an agent I have there. Okay, and not doing this myself. That's what they're doing right now. It's not a good situation. Competition is getting bigger. I mean, that is why I joined Bricklog, is to bring the idea of, and now is my point, freight forwarding, logistics. You have agents, you have own companies worldwide, and this is what I want to bring in the headhunting services, working with agents, having partners, thinking globally, not only thinking globally, but practicing it. That's the thing. And that's what we're doing right now.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that insight. It's good to have that explanation and understand what's going on the ground. Let us talk about a little bit about what we've had everybody's had a tough year. A lot of companies have really struggled. A lot of other companies, e-commerce, for example, responding to changing consumer behaviour, have had huge benefit. We've seen a lot of the tech companies, of course, e-commerce companies or companies in that side of the economy really booming. Talk to us a little bit about, if you will, Thomas, first of all, about what the major trends are right now going on in the supply chain in Europe. What's happening? What are you seeing happening in the near future?
Okay, so what we feel right now and what we see is that is what we learn from our customers, because we do not only talk to our customers, which are more than 80% logistics service providers. Of course, we do have other contacts in the industry, but the logistics service providers, what they are giving us as a feedback is that they, of course, supply chains are looking to be not so solid anymore. We do have these problems with, we call it, of course, disruptions. We just had a discussion this morning where that is something you can tell probably later on, because things are getting more costlier because the sea freight rates are very, very high right now, or since, let's say, 2 months. They are more than 4 times or five times higher than.
Yeah, we've seen that in the media.
That was really something really difficult especially for the forwarders. And I do not want to blame any carrier right now, but this is something that's in the media every day. Of course, when it comes to e-commerce and medical supplies, these guys are doing very well, and the fast-moving consumer goods as well. And they are looking for new, how to say, systems, or even, I mean, the Amazon effect. So what we're seeing is the Amazon means from the business to customer is influencing the business to business every day even more. And that what we see, especially with our mid-sized companies, that they need to follow that trend in order to have the omni-channel as well, to bring this to the people working in that company, because the customers are very demanding when we talk about transit time, when we're talking about customer experience. So a lot of these companies are not well positioned right now. I mean, the customer is expecting, as I said, a shorter transit time, a much better service. They would like to have a feedback directly, and they do not want to dial in and being in a queue that somebody is answering their questions. So that is something they need to be much better now.
So a lot of pressures from different angles and disruptions across the supply chain.
Yes.
Bernhard, I've seen you're making a bit of noise on LinkedIn recently about carriers. Do you want to make any comment about that, about what are the influences that are taking place there at the moment?
Well, the influence, it's just a feeling. They just want to get the money back they have lost in the past years. That's my personal feeling.
Okay.
Well, if you're talking about the supply chain, and a very interesting story, I'm riding bicycle, and I'm in a bicycle group, and one wrote yesterday, I don't get spare parts.
Okay.
I want to buy a new bike, and it's cost about 20-25% more. What's happening? And I told you last year, the supply chain causes that. If you're paying 4 or 5 times more for a container, obviously the costs go on the product. So what's happening? Inflation, question mark?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So a range of disruptions there across supply chain. What role do you see? What's happening with e-commerce? I mean, we've seen an explosion of e-commerce globally. What's happening in the economies that you're working in terms of moving forward? How are companies gearing up and reacting to this massive growth? What does it mean for recruitment? What does it mean for consulting? What does it mean for the way supply chains are structuring moving forward?
All right. First of all, when I'm coming back to the subject I just discussed, is the let's say, when we talk about transit time, you need to reorganize the last mile. What does it mean? I mean, the distribution network needs to be closer to the metropolitan areas. You know, you need to have even warehouses or smaller warehouses downtown. That is a trend we see, because you need to be able as a service provider to deliver what your customer is promising to the end customer. So that is something that is changing. And to the other modes of transport, like air freight or ocean freight, and what we see is that the people which are even in the mid-sized companies, they're a little bit more willing to invest. And some companies are in growth mode still during the pandemic. So that is something, they have the entrepreneurial spirit to do so. And what does it mean for us, especially in the let's say in our role as a headhunter? They all want to have people with a growth mindset and to have more digital experience and to see more the B2C things coming in the market. That is something I would say it's not so easy to deliver, right?
Well, in case it's not, especially right now, because if you let's say if you're a salesperson, what you're selling right now, okay, how you're selling right now, and this is what reflects from the candidates. They're not moving, they can't, okay, and if you want to convince someone to get into a new role, the people are getting more resistant. So.
Yes.
So so I know that you guys run one of Europe's most successful headhunting businesses, and you've got a lot on. So basically, what sort of jobs are hot at the moment? What are the types of roles that are in vogue that companies are looking for talent in? What sort of jobs? Is it Europe or Germany in particular?
Still commercial roles, very much. Commercial, but that means sales, whether it's key account or business development. We do have, as I just mentioned, a few customers. They're looking for these people who are more entrepreneurial, and then some of them are rethinking or trying to reshape their sales organizations. What does it mean? What does it mean reshaping? Reshaping is, you have a field sales organization, you have a business development organization, or for the bigger clients, you have the key accounts, the global key accounts, or even regional, whether it's EMEA or Asia Pacific, whatsoever. And the field sales here are very much under pressure, I would say, in the bigger corporations for right now, because they are not, I think they are not any longer able to see these customers in person, so they need to make their visits virtual, and they will not succeed. So the people, the decision makers in the bigger corporations, they're making themselves their mind. I'm saying, okay, what do we need to do to adapt to that situation? Do we still need one thing? Do we still need this big number of people working in field sales? Why can we not arrange that in any other way? Do we have a nice customer service in place? Do we have the customer experience in our hands still? Digital? More or less, I would say, the most of them, I would say no. So there's a big potential, Kim. And then, of course, the others are saying, okay, we need to find these entrepreneurial guys. They are being able to transport the message over a monitor to our customers. Can you imagine how difficult it will be to gain a new customer over a virtual meeting?
Well,
there are not so many in the market. They're able to do so.
Fair enough. Hey, Bernhard. So about 70% of the recruitment that we're doing at the moment through our offices, Hong Kong, Shanghai, throughout Australia, Singapore, Thailand, India, Middle East, is to do with e-commerce. It's driven by e-commerce. If the roles aren't e-commerce, they're driven by the change in consumer behavior. We've all seen in the global media the massive growth. It's going from sort of 5-10% of companies' activities being in e-commerce up to 35-40% during the last 12 months or so. Talk to us a little bit about the types of roles in operations as opposed to the commercial side that Thomas just talked about. If we're talking the operations as a headhunter, not just for you guys, but across the market and what you see on the wires and other companies, what sort of roles can the audience be aware of that are hot in the space of operations and e-commerce in particular?
Okay. Yeah, we have to go into contract logistics. This is hot. Because if you look at e-commerce, the customer doesn't see what's happening around their deliveries they get. What's happening? The big warehouse is still being built in Germany. Companies growing, getting bigger. And another interesting thing is quality. Quality. How do I ensure the quality? If you were talking about Kaizen and lean management, that was something that came out of the Tier 1 suppliers like the car manufacturers. Yeah. Now it's been transferred even into smaller e-commerce companies. They're talking lean. They're talking Kaizen. That's what's happening. So good, educated, studied logisticians with an international glasses on, with a view of the global markets. That's a talent which is needed, and there's not enough. There's not enough talent.
So there's big demand and less supply. Yep. What about, Thomas, what about technology? We talk here a lot about digitization, of course. It's just a mega trend right across the board, not just in supply chain, right across the world. Technology, what sort of roles are you seeing there being a demand for and driving in these spaces?
Okay, all right. What Bernhard just said, yes, of course, in contract logistics, even there is a lot of artificial intelligence involved. So you need to handle with these instruments and tools. When it comes to the transport part of the business, there is a lot of IoT already involved when it comes to the track and trace. And this is again one coming from the Amazon effect, because people would like to know where are my goods. Okay, fine. But of course, when we're talking about temperature controlled or even goods which will be really, to avoid pilferage. So IoT, you have so many, let's say on the truck, you can measure so many points, more than a few of thousands, where you can measure points in the IoT. So you need to be able, not only from a technical side, so you need to be able to transfer that to your customer side. What does it mean? So when it comes to the distribution side, of course, inventory with the drone is not really new. So it's happening. Or even the robots in the contract logistics, in the warehouses, in the hubs. That's something. Or even we just saw exoskeletons, which are very helpful to help the people on the shop floor. So, and we have, of course, what we do ourselves is the data mining, because a lot of the people, they're sitting on their data and I would not blame anybody, but they did not know how to manage it's too much data, and they did not make any decision out of it, or not the right decision. So you need to access the data, you need to analyze the data, and then make something out of it which will help you. So this called the data mining, or even the process of that data is for many companies still a big challenge. So that's a few of the trends what we see in the market. And then we do not talk about the digital forwarders right now, because this is a different species where they have full blown the market with their customer experience, which is on the surface on a laptop, where you can click and buy even a transport from Shanghai to Rotterdam. So that is something. The bigger ones, they are not still able to do so, but they still have all other problems right now. We're talking about when we talk about the space situation.
So you're talking. You mentioned this term, digital forwarders. explain to the audience what digital forwarding is.
So digital forwarding means that we have still 3 streams. We have the goods from A to Z that will remain the same. There is one shipping party and one consignee party. But of course, you have 2 different others. You have the datas, which means, I have the procurement, which is based on some algorithms, and I do have the customer experience. So there were the physical flow, that's still the same, but you have the payment, even much easier, much better, and the booking procedure, that's all digital. That means nobody needs to pick up the phone. And I think, Kim, what do you think, how many transactions, imagine you've been a sender, you would like to send 120-foot box from Dubai to Antwerp. What do you think, how many transactions you need to do for 120-foot containers? And the container sitting at the ramp at your warehouse, and you would like to ship it to Rotterdam. What do you think? How many transactions you need to do?
Oh, God, I don't know, 15, 20?
No, it's more than that. It's more than 220.
Oh, get out.
That's the old-fashioned way. You're trying to ring your guy in the agency, say, okay, can you please pick up? Then you will get an email reconfirmation, and so on and so on.
Oh, my God.
And they are able to reduce that in a lot easier way, just to let's say, to illustrate how easy it could be, of course.
Unreal.
So they are really able to make that workload, especially for the shipper side, much easier. It's more transparent, Kim.
Yeah.
You can have it. The track and trace is just in it. So and the booking procedure is not only easier. So the communication is easier. I mean, I do not want to say that these are the world champions, but they're making their life easier for the customers.
Sure. So you mentioned, well, just as a matter of interest, so I interviewed one of the owners or founders of a company called Fero, F-E-R-O, in the Middle East the other day, and who have just received a round of funding, I understand. And they are taking paperwork completely out of freight transactions and doing it all by voice.
Wow.
So watch this space. Those guys are hot. So a bit of a plug for Fero. But you mentioned just before, and I'll hit you up with this, Bernhard. You mentioned data. I mean, you talk about world champions. You're used to it in football in Germany. But are we seeing, data? And people will tell us data is king for everything, any form of business these days, right? If you know your data, if you know what's happening with the consumer and supply and the supply chain, upstream, downstream, then you're winning. Are we seeing the need? Back to you, Bernhard, as a headhunter, the need for more people, data analysts, people who understand data, who can process data, who can draw conclusions from data. Is that a way forward for supply chain businesses?
Yes. Coming to the point is, again, you need these people to access the data and to understand the data and give the management a good foundation to make the good decision for the future. You need these people. Data mining is a very big thing now, swapping over more and more into logistics.
Okay.
We have one guy in our team, he has a nickname. His name is Sir Datalot. And you know why? Because when he's talking to us, I have to admit, I did not get everything what he's talking to me. Because they're still living in their own world. I would not say nerdy, but it's kind of, And these guys, they are really, and that is what I mean. We just attracted a new order from a company. They're very well known in the pharmaceutical industry, and they're asking us to help them in order, because we do have these overlapping jobs in the logistics industry anyway. When you talk about lean, when we're talking the Kaizen, what you're just saying, and they're looking for master belt people, which are able to transfer what the process is into numbers. And this is something I would say this is not quite new, but that is the task of the hour, I would say. Very actual. Yeah.
At the top of the program, we off air we talked a little bit about some of the work you guys are doing, and I know you're currently working with a number of companies involved in vaccine distribution, and that's going to be a big piece of work. And well done on that. I've got a snap fire question for both of you. I mean, around the world, we hear about the delays. I think I read last week about, an unusual delay in distribution of the vaccines in Germany. What the hell was that all about? Is that something particular to Germany, or is it, you got some of the biggest logistics companies in the world there, and yet there was a slower distribution than what was planned? What was that all about?
Okay, that's really a difficult question, but I need to be careful what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not the fault of the logistics experts.
Okay.
I would say. We are still waiting. They are waiting, and they're still doing something. I mean, we have in all federal state, we have the big guys are now distributing in, let's say, there is DAXA in Berlin, there's Kühnenagel in North Rhine-Westphalia, we have DHL in Lower Saxony. So that's up and running, just for example. They're doing what to do, and they know how to do it. But it's not political bashing, what I'm just trying to say. But if these political things are involved, Kim, that makes it even more difficult.
Okay.
Have they all?
Yeah. There are too many parties involved.
Yeah.
And too many decision makers.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not our fault.
No.
Sure. Well, I know political correctness is a big thing in Europe.
Yes.
I mean, you guys, how many countries are there in Europe? It's like 27 countries or something. I mean,
something like that. Yes.
It's incredible. I mean, the fact that there is a European Union at all, as a bit of a history buff, I must say I'm just staggered and amazed at how well actually Europe has done in the last 50 years, because when you look at what was going on before then, and then you see all these countries are together, and then all of a sudden you see Brexit, which I personally think was a mistake for the UK to leave. But what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm from New Zealand, long way from anywhere. Okay, we're going to wrap up a little bit in a minute, but before we do that, I want to ask you each for one or maybe two, very quickly, 30 seconds max, of what you think the big issues are going to be in supply chain in Europe or further afield. But let's start with Europe over the next 12 months. Bernhard, I want to start with you. From what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, what we know, what we don't know, the certainties or uncertainties about life in general we're all living at the moment, what do you think one or two big issues are going to be for supply chain moving forward? Good, bad, or ugly?
Yeah, you're talking about Europe, and I think it's not a long story. The European companies should rethink their production, manufacturing. Sorry to say that, but we have to think more European. We have to do our own production here in Europe and cut the really extended supply chains to Asia, especially to China. Sorry to say that, but we have to think. It's not like we make America great again. No, it's we are Europe. We have enough laborers which are not in work. We have still a high unemployment, what people don't know, if you go to Romania or Bulgaria. So I think the European companies should rethink about their supply chains and do more manufacturing back in Europe.
Okay, so you have plenty of resources, and you're talking nearshoring as opposed to offshoring necessarily. Yep. Okay, Thomas, what are the big things having the big impact on supply chains, or what can supply chain do as forward-thinking issues over the next 12 months?
I think the supply chain strategy need to be more agile. Yes, I agree that the nearshoring will be, let's say, one of the methods which will work, but not in every case, because we have too much. It's cost-wise always a challenge. So I guess we will have more micro warehouses. in the metropolitan areas, and that is what I see already on the real estate side of our logistics business. That is something that will that is very interesting development in the market. So there will be a demand for these kind of warehouses and regional or decentral hubs in Europe.
Okay. From a macro perspective, either of you, from a global perspective, what do you see happening in terms of movement, the carrier pricing, demand, supply, demand? What do you see happening over the next 12 months? Do you think things are going to get better or easier for the freight companies in the middle between the carriers and the consumer? Or do you think it's going to be another tough year?
I think it's going to be another tough year.
Yeah.
We see right now the concentration also in freight forwarding companies being sold. So there are big companies eating up again. And I think for mid-sized companies, really, they have to a milestone. I think they have to make a milestone to go back into digitization and transfer that knowledge to their customers. I think that's the big challenge for mid-sized companies, not for the biggies. The biggies have the money and they invest in new technologies and everything.
And just to complement, there is the sustainability is one thing, Kim, especially for the managers of big and of own fleets, because there's still one thing going on that we in Germany or in Europe, LNG is on its way, beside the electromobility. So LNG will be, I think, the big thing in the next 2 to 3 years for especially for Germany.
Interesting. Great. Thanks, guys. So the final question, one each. Bernhard, first to you. You've been hiring people for about 1,000 years, so so you've seen people come and go into businesses. You're now one of Europe's top headhunters. What is it for people joining Bricklog, your company, of which you're partners? What is the one thing that you really look forward to hearing or seeing in a candidate that's important to you? And you're sitting down interviewing, and I know you've just hired some more people because your business is going very well. What would be the one thing that's the most important to you about the talent coming in?
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yes.
They have to be curiously minded.
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
All right.
And
there's also
Thomas.
I don't want to be arrogant, but we only want to work with people to have fun, All
right. Awesome. All right. Well, look, gentlemen, I know it's getting on towards lunchtime where you are right now. So, beautiful building in the background. So thanks for putting that there for us. Bit of German antiquity. Really enjoyed talking to you again. Excellent to hear what's going on in your world, and we wish you all the well, especially with the work that you're going to be doing on vaccine distribution. All the best of luck with that, and good luck with your business. We look forward to checking in with you again in a few months to see how things are faring in Germany. We wish you well in terms of the lockdown and the control of the virus, of course, and moving forward to freer days for all of us. Thanks again so much for your time. To our audience, thank you for spending time with us, with Bernhard and Thomas in Germany, and stay safe, everybody, and have a great day. Thank you.
Yes, you too.
Same to you, Kim. Thanks for having us.